Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making these cherry blossom headphone covers. I've seen a lot of creative headphone covers recently, but I have not seen any cherry blossom ones. I really love the colors on these headphone covers, and I also love that they are compatible with just about any type of headphones. I made these for my Sony XM4s, and they also work on the Apple headphones, the AirPods Max. But I show you while I'm crocheting exactly where you can tweak this pattern for bigger or smaller headphones, so in theory you can make them for any type of headphone. Now, this tutorial ended up being pretty long, so this is going to be part 1, which I'll show you how to crochet the headphone cover base, and then in part 2 I'll show you how to crochet the cherry blossom flower and leaf, and I'll show you also the sewing part. So I'll link part 2 and make sure to check that out as well. Without further ado, let's hop into the materials. So for this project, I'm going to be using a light pink, a dark pink, a white, and a green yarn. And for all 4 colors, I'm going to be using a yarn weight of 4. And so for this project, I like to use a 5mm crochet hook for the headphone covers, but then I also like to use a 4mm crochet hook for the flower, so that the flower comes out a little bit smaller. And you'll also need some scissors and a yarn needle for sewing. You can use just 1 crochet hook, but I would recommend using 2 if you have them. So let's hop into crocheting the headphone cover base. So I'll show you how to make the first one, and I'm going to be using my handy yarn spinner that I've been loving recently. And we will start with white, or whatever color you want the headphone covers to be. So we'll start with the 5mm crochet hook, which is what we'll use for the entire headphone cover. And we are going to start with a magic circle. So for my technique, I like to grab it like this and flip it up to make a loop like this. And I'll show you again. Just like this. And make sure to pay attention to which side of the loop is in front of the other, and make sure yours looks the same. So now we're going to stick our hook through the loop and pull our yarn through. And the circle can be a little bit hard to hold, so I like to just pinch it like this so it doesn't go anywhere. And then we'll chain 1. So now we're going to work into the circle, and we're going to use half double crochets for this project. So to do a half double crochet, we yarn over before sticking our hook through the loop. Then we stick our hook through the loop, pull a yarn through, and we'll now have 3 loops on our hook. So finally we'll yarn over and pull this new loop through all 3 that were on our hook. And that is how you do a half double crochet. So let's do it again. Yarn over, hook through, pull a yarn through, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. So that's 2 half double crochets. So here is our third. And now you're going to want to do 6 half double crochets in our magic circle for round 1. And by the time you're done, you'll have a total stitch count of 6. And I like to double check and count my stitches after each round. So now that we're done with round 1, we can go ahead and cinch our magic circle by pulling this little yarn tail here. And I like to use a stitch marker I'll place that in the first stitch of every single round just to keep track of which round I'm on or how far I am in the round. But first, let's do the first stitch of round 2. So for round 2, we're going to be doing something called a half double crochet increase in each of the stitches. And basically that is just where we do 2 half double crochet in one stitch. So right here is the first stitch that we're going to work into. So we'll put 1 half double crochet, then we'll place our stitch marker, and the second half double crochet is going to go in the same stitch that we put the first one. So you can kind of trace the first stitch down, and that gap is exactly where we'll put our hook for the second half double crochet. And that's kind of why it's called an increase, because we double up. So now that we've done 2, we'll move on to the next stitch, do another increase by putting our first half double crochet right here. And then we'll put our second half double crochet in the exact same spot. So for our third increase, we'll do the same thing. 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we'll put our second half double crochet in the exact same stitch. So you're going to do that for each of the stitches in this round. So what used to be 6 stitches will actually double, and we'll have 12 total stitches by the end of round 2. And like I said, I always like to count it to double check. You can tell when you're done based on when the stitch marker is in the next stitch from where you just finished, because we always put it in the first stitch of the round. So for round 3, we're going to actually alternate between half double crochet increases and just normal half double crochet. So the first stitch we'll do an increase. So here's our first half double crochet in this stitch, and we'll put our stitch marker back, and then the second half double crochet will go in the exact same stitch. So that's our increase. And for the next stitch, instead of increasing, we're just going to do 1 half double crochet. So no doubling up this time, just a single half double crochet. So we have our 1, 2 in the first stitch, and then 3 in the next stitch. So we're going to repeat that pattern. So next we'll go back to our increase right here. So here's half double crochet 1 and 2 in this stitch. And next, just 1 half double crochet in the following stitch. So you'll kind of alternate back and forth between increases and normal half double crochets all the way around for round 3. And by the time you are done with round 3, we will have 18 stitches total. So now for round 4, we're going to do an increase in the first stitch, like we have been. So here's our 1 and our 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. And then we'll do 2 separate individual half double crochets. So we'll look to the next stitch, do a half double crochet, but not an increase. And then we'll look to the next stitch again and do a half double crochet. So it's kind of like 2, 1, 1, 2 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet. So let's do it again. 2 half double crochets in this first stitch, 1 and 2, and then just 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. So we'll keep doing that. 1 half double crochet, all the way around for round 4. leaving us with a total of 24 stitches by the time we're done with round 4. And I'll go ahead and hold this up to the headphone to kind of give you an idea of how big you want to make your headphone covers. So at this point, it's definitely too small for my headphones. We're gonna need a few more rounds of increasing, but if you have really small headphones, you might want to stop increasing earlier than I do. And if that is the case, you'll want to skip to my round 8 in the video. But for most headphones, you're gonna want to keep increasing like me. Alright, so moving on to round 5, we're gonna do an increase in the first stitch, like usual, and then we'll do 3 normal half double crochets. So here's our increase with our first and second half double crochet in the stitch, and then we'll do 1 half double crochet in the next, just 1 half double crochet in the next stitch as well, and 1 half double crochet in the final stitch. So it's like a 2, 1, 1, 1 half double crochets. And you're probably noticing a pattern here, as you might guess, with increase 3 half double crochet and then increase 4 half double crochet, increase 5, and so on. I'll show you each of those rounds. So for the next one, we'll do an increase in the first stitch, then just 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 half double crochet in the final. So continue that pattern all the way around, and you should have 30 stitches by the end of round 5. And for round 6, like I mentioned, we're going to do an increase and then 4 half double crochet. So here's our first and second half double crochets in that first stitch for the increase, and then we'll do 4 half double crochets over the next 4 stitches. So here's our first one, and then our second one, our third half double crochet, and our fourth half double crochet. So we'll do that again with increase and then 4 half double crochet, and we'll repeat that all the way around for round 6, leaving us with a total of 36 stitches by the time we're done. And again, I'll hold it up to my headphones. At this point, it looks like I'm almost there. Like I could probably be done increasing here if I really wanted to stretch it. I like the edge of the headphone cover to come all the way to the bottom of the headphone. So that's why I'll do one more round, round 7. And for round 7, we'll do an increase and then 5 half double crochet. So there's our increase in the first stitch, and then our 5 half double crochet. 1 and 2. Then here's our third, our fourth, and lastly our 5th half double crochet. So then we'll go back to the increase. So after round 7, you'll have 42 stitches, and at this point I am going to be done with increasing. I guess we're kind of done with the face of the headphone cover, and you know you're done when it looks something like this on your headphone. We can see it's the same length as our headphone on the top and the bottom. So if you need to do an extra round or 2 of increasing, you're just going to follow the pattern like I have. You're going to, for I guess round 8, you would do an increase and then 6 half double crochet. For the next round, you'd do an increase and then 7 half double crochet. If you need to keep going, which you might if you use a really thin yarn or a really tiny hook. But if you do need to add more rows, just do those increases and then come back to the video when you're done. And I'll show you how to do the sides of the headphone cover. So for the sides, I like to change colors and do a green side on the headphone cover. I just think it looks cute that way. But if you want to do a solid color, you totally can. But if you're going to change colors, let me show you how to do that. So we're going to slip stitch off like this. and then cut our yarn. It doesn't have to be super long, a super long yarn tail or anything. So just trim it here, and then we're gonna loop that tail through the one on our hook, the loop on our hook, and pull it tight to create a knot. So now I'm gonna go in with my green yarn, and we're going to make a slip knot here. So I'll show you how I like to make a slip knot. I like to hold the yarn like this and then wrap it around my pointer finger 2 times. So it should look like this, and then I'll hold the end with those fingers on my left hand, and then we're gonna grab the loop on the left and pull it over top the one on the right. Now we're gonna grab the new left loop and pull it over top and all the way around our finger, and then pull that tight. And that's a pretty easy way to make a quick slip knot. So for this first round, we are going to work in the back loops only, and I like to do that because it makes this nice little line, and I'll show you how to do that. And also just a note, for this round, at the very end, we're gonna leave a gap for the headphone arm, and you can make a skinnier or wider gap depending on your headphones. I like to go with a gap of 4 stitches, but if you have like the Apple headphones, you might want to do 2 or 3 stitches because they have a skinnier arm. But I'll show you how I do that. So to get started with round 8, we're going to work in the back loops only, like I said. Instead of going underneath and catching the whole stitch like we normally do when crocheting, we're going to kind of put our hook through the middle of the stitch to split it in half and just grab the back loop. Also, it doesn't matter exactly where you start on the headphones for round 8, you can just pick any stitch. So now we're going to take our slip knot and place it on our hook. And then we will pull that through the stitch we're in right now. Next, you're going to chain 1. And we're going to work with half double crochets in the back loops only for round 8. So we'll start with the stitch that we're in actually and do our first one. Just like this. And so for the second stitch, we'll look to the next stitch. And again, we're going to, instead of grabbing the whole stitch in white, we're going to kind of cut it in half in a sense and just grab the back loop of the stitch, which is the one on top for you guys actually. Just like this. And we'll do a half double crochet. So one more time, we'll stick our hook through the middle of the stitch to just grab the back loop only, like this, and then we'll do our half double crochet. And also you might notice I'm kind of crocheting over top of that green end so that I don't have to sew it in later, so you can try to do that as well, or just sew in the end later, totally up to you. And the reason I say to do 38 half double crochets is because that's how many you're left with if you skip 4. Because we had 42 stitches when we ended off in round 7. So minus 4 leaves us with 38 half double crochet. You don't necessarily have to count all 38. If you'd rather just count 4 white stitches at the end where the gap is, that works too. But if you want to check that you have 38 stitches too, that works as well. But make sure to hold the headphone cover up to your headphones and see if this is a good gap for you. Like I said, it could be more or less, so just do more or less half double crochet until it fits the headphone arm well. So this is what it looks like on the side. So you can tell we have a couple more rows to go. So you are going to trim your yarn, your green yarn here actually. And if you crochet it on top of any of the yarns to secure them in, you can trim those or go ahead and sew them in. But to end off round 8, we will loop this tail through to knot it off. So again, we're going to make a slip knot to start which I'll show you how I do it again. Pulling the left loop over top of the right one, and then the new left loop all the way over top my finger and pull it tight. So we're going to start exactly where we did for round 8, but on top of that new row. We'll put our hook in the first stitch here, then put your slip knot on your hook and pull it through. Then go ahead and chain 1. And for round 9, we're just going to be half double crocheting all the way around. So I like to start with a half double crochet in the stitch that I'm already in the same stitch that I, pulled our slip knot through, just for the first one. And then I'll move to the next stitch and just do a normal half double crochet. I'm not working in the back loops only anymore. We'll use the whole stitch like normal and just do 1 half double crochet per stitch. So you're going to continue all the way around to the same spot that we ended off for the previous round, where we stopped with the green, just like this. So again, we'll trim our yarn here, and then loop it through to knot it off. And you can go ahead and sew in these ends if you want to now, or save it for later. So it looks something like this. You can tell we're almost done. We're just gonna do one more round. But they are looking good. Last time, we're gonna make a slip knot for the headphone covers, but make sure to leave a really long tail this time on the end. And that's gonna be important for how we tie the covers onto the headphones. So definitely make sure to leave a long tail. But here's our slip knot. So we're gonna start in the same spot that we did previously, but just on the new round. So at that first stitch in the round, we'll put our hook through here, put our slip knot on our hook, and make sure to hold your working yarn, not the one that has the yarn end. So then we'll chain 1. And now we're going to do a new type of stitch here, actually. We're going to do what's called a half double crochet decrease, which we'll do that first, so let me show you how. We will yarn over like we normally do for a half double crochet and stick our hook through the first stitch. Pulling a loop through, we'll have 3 loops on our hook, but instead of finishing it off like we normally would, we're going to stick our hook into the next stitch, actually, which is this one, and we'll pull a yarn through here. So now you have 4 half double crochets on your hook. Then we'll yarn over and pull through all 4, just like this. So we effectively crocheted 2 stitches together, and that's how we decrease. So then we'll do 5 half double crochet after that decrease. So there's 1 and 2 3 4 half double crochets and 5 half double crochets. So we will repeat that pattern around, but let me show you how to do that decrease one more time. Yarn over before you go into the stitch. Stick your hook through and pull a loop through, but then we'll actually go into the next stitch with our hook, pull a yarn through, and now we have 4 loops on our hook, so we'll yarn over and pull through all 4. So then we'll go back to our 5 half double crochet. So you're going to repeat that around for round 10, And when you get to the end, you'll notice that you don't have room to do all 5 of the last half double crochet. So what I mean by that is we'll go ahead and do our half double crochet decrease based on the pattern, and you should have room for just 1 more half double crochet at the end. You won't have room for the 4 more, and that's totally okay. That's not really important that we finish off evenly. But if you've been following the pattern exactly like I have, you should have 32 stitches. So now that we're done, we can make sure to trim a long tail on this end as well, which will be useful for tying the headphone cover on again. But we'll loop it through to knot it off and pull tight. And so at this point, you're going to want to sew in any of your loose ends that are remaining, except for those 2 long ones that we left at the beginning and end of round 10. Because like I said, we'll use those for tying it. So when I'm sewing in loose ends, this is how I do it. If it's already knotted, you can just go ahead and hide the yarn tail by weaving it through a few stitches at a time and pulling it tight. Then when you're happy, you can just trim it off. If the yarn hasn't been knotted yet, I would recommend making a knot and then hiding the yarn tail and trimming it off. And for those 2 long yarns that we left for tying, you can cut them a little bit shorter. I like to leave them a little bit longer than the headphone cover is in terms of length. Whatever is good for you so that you can tie it comfortably, but they can still be out of the way when you're wearing them. And this is how I put the covers onto my headphones. I usually do it upside down and then use those 2 strings to tie it pretty tight and then make a little bow. So we are done crocheting the first headphone cover. So don't forget to make 2 of these, 1 for each headphone. And that is how you make the headphone cover's base. Moving on to part 2, where I'll show you how to make the cherry blossom flowers and how to sew it on. The link for part 2 will be in the description. And if you would rather put something else on your headphones, like a star or a heart, you can totally do that. I have another tutorial where I show you how to make a heart, so I can link that if you want to put that on there. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys with my next crochet tutorial. Bye!